What's up, everybody? Cewpins here with some more MMA fight picks. I hope you guys killed it on your bets last week. I did pretty good on my track picks, and we also made some decent money on live plays. If you follow my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/Cewpins, you can follow along with whatever I'm picking live and see what kind of juicy odds we get. Sometimes the live odds are what you want. But let's get right into this middleweight matchup between Robert Whittaker and Darren Till. We are going to see the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, aka Bobby Knuckles, take on the Gorilla Darren Till. Now this fight is interesting because both guys used to fight at welterweight. Now looking at the stats here, we have similar ages. Robert Whittaker 2 years older, almost exactly 2 years older. They're both 6 feet tall, and then Darren Till has that 1.5 inch reach advantage, which isn't huge, but it's definitely there. Now I mentioned both of these guys used to fight at welterweight. They used to cut all the way down to 170 pounds, but seeing them at middleweight, you know, these guys have that middleweight frame. They're pretty big welterweights. It was probably too much for them to cut all the way down in there. And it's really shown on Robert Whittaker's career. He's 20-5. 4 of his 5 losses come at the welterweight. But since switching to middleweight, Robert Whittaker went 8-1 in the UFC. All UFC fights, 8 wins in a row at middleweight. Only having 1 loss here to Israel Adesanya, and that was a really interesting fight. Robert Whittaker was just leaping in. He had to try to clear a lot of distance to try to get on Adesanya, and Adesanya is one of the best counter strikers in MMA, and it was just a matter of time before something really good landed. And we saw it a few times. We almost saw him get finished in the first round, and Israel Adesanya was able to do it in the second round. That was an interesting fight. But Robert Whittaker has 2 wins over Yoel Romero. The second one, a lot of people say he might have lost. But one of the factors is Robert Whittaker broke his hand. He said it was on the first punch in the first round. And if you watch that fight, he really didn't throw a lot of right hands. He was just kind of holding it up there. Wasn't throwing it a bunch, so it was definitely damaged. But he still was able to secure the victory there. Did pretty well against one of the toughest guys on the planet, Yoel Romero. He has wins over Jacare Souza. He has wins over Derek Brunson, Rafael Natal, Uriah Hall. I mean, some very impressive wins here. And his last fight at welterweight was this fight over Mike Rhodes, won that. But since switching to middleweight, I mean, look at his record here. Finish, 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 finish. A few decisions on here, but the decisions are to, like, absolute savages. Yoel Romero, Uriah Hall, I think this was 3 rounds. Probably in a 5 round, we would have seen the finish there. But if we go back to his welterweight career, we can see a couple of losses here by finish. Looks like one's before the UFC, and one here is to Stephen Thompson. Wonderboy is one of the best welterweights on the planet. And Wonderboy also has a fight with Darren Till, and they went 5 rounds, and I believe Darren Till won the decision there, so it's pretty interesting to see they have a common opponent where one guy beat him and one guy lost to him. But really impressive wins since switching to middleweight. One of those things where it seemed like, why weren't you doing that before? You know, I watched his first few fight at middleweights. He looked better than I'd ever seen him at welterweights. One of those things, but this is definitely the weight class for Robert Whittaker. Now, a few points on the striking of Robert Whittaker. He does very well striking in any direction. He can move forward and strike, or he can move back and counter and get some good strikes in. He has a knockout over Derek Brunson where he was like sprinting backwards, planted his feet and landed a huge punch, and then was able to work that into a finish. I've seen Robert Whittaker do some very impressive things on the feet. He has kind of a weird style with striking, but it works out well for him. He's got a really good punching game, very heavy shots. Like I said, he can punch in any direction. He has a pretty good kicking game that has been improving over the last few years. If you've seen a lot of his fights early, he didn't throw a lot of kicks. In a lot of his later fights, he has some really nice kicks, body kicks, high kicks, and he throws decent leg kicks as well. Robert Whittaker also has really good takedown defense, but Darren Till doesn't have a high takedown threat. It's there, it's possible, but I don't think we're going to see Darren Till shoot a lot of takedowns in this fight. And Robert Whittaker has a high fight IQ. I believe if he senses he's losing the fight, he might look for a takedown. He could probably get it. He has really great work in the clinch. He's good at initiating the clinch, but Darren Till is pretty sharp in the clinch, being a really good Thai fighter. And one thing to note about Robert Whittaker is I think his only chance of loss here is if he gets knocked out. I don't think he loses a decision, but he does fight with his hands low. Both fighters do fight with their hands low, but I think that Darren Till has just really crisp striking and will be able to land that left hand at least a few times. I don't know if he's going to land the one that does it, but let's take a look at his record here. He's 18-2, and his 2 losses are at welterweight. Like we said, he used to fight at welterweight, has 2 losses there at welterweight, one to Jorge Masvidal, lost to punches, and one to Tyron Woodley, got hit with the Darce choke. I believe he got taken down, beat up on the ground quite a bit, and then the opportunity for a Darce presented itself, and Tyron Woodley just jumped on that. But the fight with Jorge Masvidal is very interesting because you could see the size difference. I mean, Masvidal used to fight at lightweight, and Darren Till now fights at middleweight. You could see the size difference there, but Masvidal is a savage on the feet. He was going toe-to-toe with Darren Till. He ate a couple of good shots, but Masvidal is so great at striking, he was able to put Darren Till away. And you could say Darren Till probably wasn't at 100% with the tremendous weight cut, but it's really hard to tell. His first fight at middleweight, though, is versus Kelvin Gastelum. It was a 3-round fight, and he won by split decision. And I looked up the stats on this fight, and I watched the fight. Kelvin Gastelum landed more strikes and more significant strikes, not many more, but it was a pretty even fight. And we just saw Kelvin Gastelum lose recently at middleweight, and it looked pretty decisive. So if Darren Till wasn't able to do to Gastelum what a lot of these bigger guys are able to do at middleweight, I don't know how he's going to do against Robert Whittaker. Darren Till does have really good Muay Thai. He has really crisp punches, an excellent left hand. I mean, I think he can drop anybody at middleweight with it. I think Robert Whittaker's striking is on another level, and he's more durable than Darren Till. But we're going to see. Till also has a good sense of range. He can fight on the outside, close distance well, and avoid shots well. Having the similar reach to Robert Whittaker, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays into it. Now, my pick here is Robert Whittaker. I've had a bet locked in on him for a few weeks. I believe this fight is going the distance, and Robert Whittaker just has a higher output. He's going to be able to land more shots and probably be more effective with his striking overall. I think Whittaker's only chances of losing are early in the fight when Darren Till has the most power. He lands really good shots early on. He has crisp punching and excellent left hand. He could knock Whittaker out, but I just don't see it happening here. If we make it out of the first and second round and Till hasn't won, it's an easy win for Whittaker, who's going to get the decision. And I believe Whittaker has the ability to finish it as well. However, Darren Till's pretty durable. They both have 5-round fights on their record. I think we're going to see a decision here, and I think it's going to lean Whittaker. I did place some bets on this. I got it at like -150, but the odds on this one have been moving so much. There's been so much money coming in on Darren Till that you can get even odds on this fight on most sports books. I actually have bets all the way up to -110 on Robert Whittaker. I'm really excited to see how this plays out. We have a lot of excellent fights on the card. I think there's 15 fights booked for the card. I'm going to try to get some videos out breaking down the other ones, but I know this one I had the most info on and I wanted to get it out early. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content. For my live streams, check out my Twitch, and I have links below where I have all my picks tracked and then some of the websites I use for betting if you need a place to go. But hit me up on any of my social medias. I'll have those links below. Appreciate you guys watching.